Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron. I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Why'd you have to name him? Like, seriously. Thanks, man.
Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground?
Crazy. And for the fans at home,
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. The rosters have been announced, so of course we're gonna look over those rosters. And I'll just get off started, Austin. Is this a new format where you have fans vote for the starters and then the rosters are decided by the players?
I don't think this is a new format. It may be a little bit altered, but I think it's basically what it's been before. Because if you remember, like the 2015, that's when like 7 Kansas City Royals players made it to the starting roster.
Yeah, and I remember the 2023 Rangers, a lot of them had starter spots, but I know a lot of people were talking about George Springer is a big snub a lot of people were talking about, and they compared that with a lot of the other outfielders that were selected. And it's always difficult with the MLB because at least one player has to be selected from each team.
Yes, it does make it tough, and because of that, some guys are bound to get snubbed.
Yeah, so we can go through we can kind of see that fan voted thing or idea push with the American League. I'll just list off the roster. Cal Raleigh, Mariners. For the catcher, first base, Vlad Guerrero Jr., second base, Gleyber Torres, Tiger, third base, Jose Ramirez, Guardians, shortstop, Jacob Wilson, Athletics, Aaron Judge in the outfield, then Javi Baez, Riley Green, both. So you have 3 total Tigers, 2 taking up the outfield spots, and then designated hitter is Ryan O'Hearn on the Orioles. So to me, that's kind of where I could go. Okay, the Tigers are really good, and Riley Green is an upcoming prospect. I was surprised with Javi Baez, who's now in the outfield, given just kind of having a resurgent season and now is named to the All-Star roster as an outfielder.
Yeah, he had a great season. He'd probably be the one that George Springer would go in afterward or for if it was changed, but that's not really how it worked. And I'm not shocked that Javi Baez was voted. He's an extremely popular player, so the fact that he was not voted, that he was voted in, does not surprise me at all, especially because he has had such a resurgent season. I think a lot of people were wanting him to eventually make an all-star team again, and he's played well enough this season to make it, but that's who you would put George Springer over if they did change some of those guys out.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking of just like, yeah, I would put George Springer there, and then we can go through the reserves. You have Alejandro Kirk for the Blue Jays, Jonathan Aranda for the Rays, Alex Bregman, the Red Sox, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Yankees, Jeremy Pena, Astros, Bobby Witt Jr., Royals, Brent Rooker from the Athletics, Byron Buxton from the Twins, Stephen Kwan from the Guardians, and Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners. I think Rodriguez was a player that was like put up next to his stats. I don't
think that's fair because Julio Rodriguez is such a good fielder. So they kind of went a defensive route there. I have seen that comparison as well, but that's only a defensive comparison, and that doesn't take into effect that the Seattle ballpark is one of the hardest ballparks to hit out. He only had a 695 OPS so far, but he has a 103 OPS plus, so his OPS plus is above average. And that's with having 1.6 D-WAR at the center field position, which does bleed all center fielders, I believe, besides PCA. So he's an extremely good fielder, and his OPS is over average. So I don't think it's as crazy as some people make it out to be. I do understand the that the why the Toronto fan base does feel that way, but I don't think Julio's a bad decision.
Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible decision as well. I really think the thing that would have been solved is Springer is put in the outfield for Javi Baez as a starter, but Javi Baez still makes it. And then I'm not sure who they necessarily get rid of, but I think George Springer's spot is really in the starters, which I wonder. I don't know why I didn't notice this at first with voted by the fans, but I think the starters should be voted on by the players, and then you have the
Yeah,
fans
but then you'd
vote.
have less players for the players to vote on, right? There's only 9 guys that start, so that makes it a little bit harder to get all the guys you need to get in.
Gotcha. I would just trust the players more to have a better view of like who should start, like who's the best at the position this year compared to the fans, where it can kind of be a popularity contest.
Yes, but the MLB's got to change it to where it's not one player from each team before. I think that's the more paramount issue because that's the one that's really taking the spots away. Is the every team gets a member. It's not like this in the NBA, and I think the NBA, while there are some problems and are some snubs, I think that one is a lot more accurate regarding what players deserve to get in. So in that respect, I feel like that the league should prioritize that being a change than the one that than the fan vote. And now obviously I'm not really a big fan of the fan vote, but I think every team or every league is going to have a fan vote. It's just more in regards to whether or not the rest of how they decide on teams is fair, which that's my problem is you're getting too many teams represented, all of them. So you're going to have snubs just based on the fact that those teams they have to have a representative, and sometimes they don't deserve a representative.
Yeah. And yeah, a lot of that you could see, and I do think in the past it made sense because you can see any of these players from all those teams, but the way it is now, I think it just seems like overkill. Like a lot of these guys know who these players are, but in the history you could see where it was good to get them on TV. But we still have the pitchers. We have Tariq Skubal, Garrett Crochet, Kikuchi, Yusei Kikuchi from the Angels, Max Fried, Jacob deGrom, Shane Smith, Hunter Brown, Chris Bubich, Brian Rue, Aroldis Chapman, Josh Hader, and then Andres Munoz. So that kind of concludes the AL. I did find the discussion to be very interesting between Bobby Witt and Jacob Wilson, even though both are incredible shortstops. And it's really cool. I think it's been a while for the Athletics to have a starter. It was probably when they had Matt Chapman, Matt Olson. That's when they had starters in the All-Star game. But Jacob Wilson, I did think it was. I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I think it's a fun debate on who should be starting, Jacob Wilson or Bobby Witt Jr.
Both deserve to be all-stars at the end of the day, so I don't really care who starts. I don't think that's all that important to me. As long as both players get in, and I think both deserved it, which they do, I don't really care who starts.
Yeah. I would
both
love
players are going
to
to play the same amount of time.
That's true. I would love to just see like for and against Jacob Wilson and Bobby Witt because there are reasons for them to both be starting as they are both deservedly all-stars, as you mentioned. But it'd be a fun debate, and it'd be a fun debate because there's nothing really wrong with Jacob Wilson starting and nothing really wrong with Bobby Witt not starting. So,
and shout out to Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, I was surprised to see his name. I was like, okay,
but he's a 1.25 ERA. He's been one of the best, if not the best, reliever in baseball right now. He's been the brightest spot on Boston, and it's really been him and Bregman are the two best guys on that team, which neither of them were on the team before this year. And then Crochet as well. Crochet's also been good. And he also was not on the team last year.
Yeah, they've done a lot, and I know they're doing pretty well even after trading Devers. And yeah, Jacob deGrom was bound to make the All-Star list. He's been having an incredible year. I am surprised two. Oh no, it's just one White Sox player. Shane Smith made the All-Star team. I thought I saw two White Sox, but I think I was just reading multiple Red Sox. So that concludes the AL. And yeah, I'm very interested to see how it goes. But now we can go into the NL. Starters, you have Will Smith at catcher for the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman from the Dodgers, first base. Second base, Ketel Marte, Diamondbacks. Third base, Manny Machado for the Padres. Francisco Lindor from the Mets as the shortstop. Ronald Acuna Jr. for the outfield from the Braves. Pete Crow Armstrong from the outfield for the Cubs, and Kyle Tucker for the Cubs in the outfield again, and then Shohei Ohtani, Dodgers, as the designated hitter. This one, of course, you're going to have a lot of Dodgers because really the whole Dodgers team is an all-star roster in of itself, but Freddie Freeman's fantastic as first base. And then, of course, Ohtani with the Dodgers, and Will Smith is a great catcher. Yeah, and trying to think of the great catching really is just headlined by Cal Riley as he's just continuing to demolish balls and go after that home run record.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable year for a lot of players. Very interesting. This home run race, the Cy Young race in both sides between Zach Wheeler and Paul Skeens, and then on the AL side, Scooble and everyone else. It seems like there's going to be a lot of fun races in both of these leagues.
Yeah, I agree, and I love kind of the Cubs being resurgent. You have Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong being starters in the outfield.
Yeah. It's been a while. I find it funny because Javi Baez makes it back when the Cubs start getting two players back into the All-Star game, and it's going to be fun. But the Cubs are definitely a really good team, and they deserve their multiple All-Stars.
Yeah, and then we get to the NL reserves. You have Hunter Goodman, the catcher for the Rockies, which I always remember Elias Diaz, the catcher for the Rockies, winning the All-Star MVP. And now you just have another Rockies, and that's a team where it's just one player getting in. They chose catcher again. You have Pete Alonso from the Mets, Ellie De La Cruz from the Reds, Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals, Matt Olson from the Braves, Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks, Kyle Schwarber from the Phillies, Corbin Carroll from the Diamondbacks, Kyle Stowers from the Marlins, Fernando Tatis Jr. from the Padres, and then James Wood from the Nationals, which you are already winning that. You already won that debate, but this does go to more points of James Wood in that trade.
Yeah, the
debate.
Juan Soto deal.
Yeah, the Juan Soto deal.
Just an amazing deal for the team, and they continue to. I mean, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore also made it, right?
That's a great segue, as Mackenzie Gore did make it for the Nationals. You have Freddie Peralta from the Brewers, Robbie Ray from the Giants, Logan Webb from the Giants, Paul Skeens from the Pirates, Zach Wheeler from the Phillies, Chris Sale from the Braves, and then we'll get to the Dodgers' other pick. But after McGore, you have Yamamoto from the Dodgers, Matthew Boyd from the Cubs, Edwin Diaz from the Mets, Jason Adam from the Padres, Randy Rodriguez for the Giants, and then you have Clayton Kershaw being chosen by the commissioner as the legend pick from the Dodgers.
This reminds me of Dirk and D Wade. This makes me think it's his last season. I don't like legend picks. I like those less than I like fan votes, because I feel like if you already made so many All-Star games, right, why do you need another one? Especially because this one's not in LA. If this one's in LA, I kind of get it, but I don't really like it. I think the legends pick should be reserved solely for players that are definitely in their last season and in the city that it's being done. So the Braves, for example. But I don't get it. He's already made so many. I don't know how much he would value another one. It's not in LA. He's not starting, and it's not really something that I think he really cares about.
Yeah, this did, when I saw a legend pick, it reminded me of D Wade and Dirk. However, the thing was, you had Dirk and D Wade. Now, the legend pick to me seems like I would like it on both sides if we're gonna do it. But you just have Clayton Kershaw. I'm like, that just kind of seems like, oh, Clayton Kershaw didn't get selected. I want him to get selected. Could be his final year. Who knows? But it does seem like, oh, this happens, because I don't think there was an Albert Pujols legend pick, right?
I think there was.
Okay.
Let me check. Yeah, there was.
Oh, there was? Okay.
But he also played extremely well that year. I mean, he had a 151 OPS plus. I guess Kershaw was also playing well, but neither of them played all too many games. I do always find it funny that that Pujols played so well his last season.
Yeah. You also had Miguel Cabrera, so it was kind of that Dirk and D-Wade situation. You had one on each side.
Yeah, it's still not my favorite thing in the world. Those players, I mean, just looking at Pujols because I already had the page come up, he'd already had 10 All-Stars by the time that he got that one. So I just don't know how important it is to get those players there, unless it takes place in the city that the player plays for. I mean, as long as they don't take away a spot from another guy because of the legend pick, I'm okay with it. But it just gets into the point where you're going to take away a deserving all-star spot for a guy that's already made it a ton of times and doesn't deserve to make it this year. So I just find it weird.
I find it weird that there's only just one. I would like the symmetry of it all. Have a legend pick for each league. The American League, I'm sure. Trying to think you could.
Max Scherzer.
Yeah, Max Scherzer would be a great one. Yeah, definitely fit the AL pick because he's not really doing too well with the Blue Jays. So yeah, overall, I would say they did it pretty well. The only thing is the legend pick and just being one legend pick, which there's one for the AL and NL. So yeah, I think the main thing was George Springer, but I'm really excited to see what happens. I think the MLB All-Star Game is the one that I really pay attention to just for the home run derby, as we've already talked about that. But I do how they add the mic'd up and they just really play along of how it is just a fun game.
Yeah, it should be fun. I probably won't. I'll catch maybe the first pitch or something like that, but I don't really plan on watching it all that much. But it should be a good game.
Yeah, so let us know your thoughts on that. We will be recapping All-Star Game weekend, and of course, there will be predictions before. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.